Hi! Within this section, we're going to deep dive into Java and we're going to learn about Java fundamentals so that we can understand what's going on when we write some code, what's variables, what's sets, what's arrays and stuff. So let me create an empty activity. In fact, we're not going to create an empty activity, we're going to create a project, but this time we're not going to even have an activity. So, as I said before, in every app we have activities because that's how users interact with apps. But this time, we're not going to build any app. We're just going to learn about Java fundamentals. So we don't need an activity in order to do that because we're not going to do any designs, we're not going to create any user interfaces, we're just going to write some Java code. So I can just as well say add no activity at all. Okay, so this will create an empty project for me, and we're going to work on Java code rather than layouts or XMLs and stuff. We're just going to focus on Java code. So this may create some kind of issue for your computers, and we're going to deal with it as well. So this time we're gonna go for add no activity, but again, most of the time, like 99% when you're dealing with real Android development, you need an activity so that your user can see some screen where they choose to interact with the app. So I'm gonna call this Java Learning or Java Basics, okay? And the package name will be my name com.atilsam.javabasics. So you can change the save location by clicking over here and choose any folder like this, okay? And then you can name whatever you want. Like this, you can just choose whatever you may want to choose from here and add some slash to write your own folder name like this, Java Basics. If you want, you can just go along with the default. Choose Java from language, and minimum API level doesn't even matter at this point. Just go for something like API 2823. This is an important choice when it comes to Android development, but this time we're just going to test some Java code. So make sure your Android X artifacts is chosen as well. If it's not choosable, it's good because it will be on by default right now. So after you create your project, this time you won't find anything on your left hand side because there will be some folders, but there will be no main activity.java or main activity.xml. We're going to add them locally, we're going to add them manually so that we can start writing some Java code. So this is what's gonna happen. We're going to wait until it's finished building and you will see this folder empty as it is. So all you have to do is just right click on that folder under your Java with inside your package name, and as you can see there isn't even a layout folder on your resources folder, okay, because we don't have any activity right now. So in order to make this work, I'm going to add a new Java file over here, Java class. So in order to do that, again, choose the folder that you want to create your Java file in, and this is the folder, and say new and say Java class. Once you do that, you have to choose a name, and we're gonna go for main with a capital M. So as I said before, with the Pascal syntax, we only use it with classes like this, okay? When you deal with a class, just make sure the first letter of that class is capital name, like capitalized letter like this, main. And we're going to see what a class is later on, but just right now we need it in order to write some code. As you can see, we have this class, which is public class, and this will let us run some Java code inside of our Android Studio application. But before we write some code, we need to have an entry method. Maybe you remember that when we add an activity before, we had this onCreate method. So this was the first method to be called when an activity is created. Now we don't have any activity, so we have something to spark this application. Like we need an entry point. We call this main method public static void main in Java. This is the first method to be executed when a class of Java is run. So that's what we're going to do actually. You don't even know what a method is, I know. Just follow along with me and write public static void main with lowercase m this time, not uppercase, okay? Main. So this is what we are looking for. This is the class with an uppercase m, and this is the method with a lowercase m. And then you're gonna have to open and close some parentheses and say string like this with a uppercase S, and add this array annotation at the end of the string. Okay, so you can do this by holding Alt and 8 or 9 in your keyboard and write args. So what this basically does is, this is a method and it takes a parameter, an arguments parameter, as a string, as an array of strings, okay? And you don't know what a parameter is, you don't know what an array is, you don't know what a string is. You're going to learn it. All you have to know right now is that this is the main method, this is the entry point for Java code. So this is what will get called when we execute this code. So whatever we write under this method over here is going to be executed when we run this application. Okay, so this lets us run some Java code. So in order to write any code, of course we're going to use this main method, and first thing that we're going to do is to make sure that we are writing inside of this curly braces. Okay, I'm not writing anything outside of this main method. So with inside of curly braces means that I'm writing with inside of this main method. So make sure you're in the curly braces section. This is a coding section, and you're writing over here. And the first thing that we're going to write is, of course, will be the hello world or hello Java application. So this is a cliche that every programmer uses when they start a new programming language. They have to write hello world so that they can print out something, they can make it work, and this is the first application for most of the programmers. If you write SOUT, you can see this brings us something called system.out.println. Of course, you can write it this way as well, system.out.println. So this basically prints something to the log. So open your quotation marks like this. If you hit a quotation mark, it will autocomplete the second one. And between these quotation marks, I'm going to write hello Java. So this is our first piece of code. This will be written in the log so that we can keep track of what's going on inside of our application. So in order to run this, I'm going to right click on this main, but the small main, not the public class one. I'm going to right click onto the main like this, and I'm gonna say run. So this will run the main method, and you will see the result in the logcat like this. But as you can see, I'm getting an error. So maybe you didn't get an error, maybe you have seen hello Java, and it's perfectly fine. It's actually better than my condition. But if you get an error like this, I'm going to show you how to overcome this problem as well, because many of the students face this problem when they first start writing Java code. If you open your build.gradle, you have to make sure that this Android test implementation is in place. So if we don't see this line at the bottom of your build.gradle at the last line of your dependencies, you should add it yourself. You're more than welcome to pause the video and just write it exactly like this into your dependencies. So that's what I have copied and pasted. Once you have copied and pasted this line, or once you have written it down like that, all you have to do is just come over to the right upper side of the Android Studio and say sync now. I'm gonna do it with you now. So say sync now from here, and it will just add this dependency as well. It will try to fix the problem. So most of the time problem will be fixed at this point, okay? But again, there might be some other bugs as well. So make sure this is written exactly like this: Android X test X this colon JUnit 1111, and close the quotation mark with only single quotation this time rather than double quotation marks. Okay, and I'm writing this inside of my dependencies, curly braces, and then I said sync now. So let's see if it solved the problem. I'm gonna right click over here and say run, and here you go. I'm still getting the error. It's good for me because I get to show you what you can further do in order to solve this problem, but most of the time your problem will be solved at this point. So if you're still getting this error, all you gotta do is just close this down, close the Android Studio down, okay, and open your folder, your Android Studio folder, like Java Learning folder that you have created for this app, okay? And you're gonna have to delete something. So let me show you. You're going to find the Gradle, okay, Gradle folder. And inside of your Gradle folder, there is something called the wrapper. And just delete all the Gradle folder, okay? This will reset the application once you start the application from Android Studio one more time, like this. It will download all the dependencies one more time. So right now it looks like it's ready, but once I do that, once I hit the run from here, it will build it again, and it will try to create that Gradle folder one more time. So it's gonna take some time, but most of the time it will just solve your problem. But again, as you can see, it didn't solve my problem. So I'm gonna try one more time, and as you can see, we get a different error, but we're still getting error. We're still not seeing hello Java. Great, because I will continue showing you what you can do further to solve this problem. So I'm gonna go over to this build.gradle, and as you can see, it says that there are some newer dependencies over here. For example, I see this highlighted dependencies like this, okay, in my dependencies coding block. And as you can see, it's giving me some kind of message saying that you're using 102, but there is 110 available. So most probably you're getting the same message as well. So I'm going to change the versions as it instructs me. So if you're seeing different versions, like if you see 1.5.0 rather than 1.2.0, just do it. I'm trying to do the latest version of these dependencies, and it is the same thing with my JUnit 1111 as well. So if it gives you some kind of upgrade message, just take everything to the latest version. So let me try to run this, and here we go. It says hello Java, and it worked. If it wouldn't work, then what I would do next is to shut down it again, delete the Gradle folder one more time from here, okay, from my Android Studio folder, and then come back over here and run this one more time. Because Sometimes it doesn't actually refresh the Gradle when you change the dependencies, but you will have to delete it and just do it one more time. So let me try to print line one more thing, and let's say 5 times 2 right now, and I'm not writing this between any quotation marks, as you can see. And I'm going to say run, and we're gonna see hello Java, and we're gonna see 10. So when you put something between quotation marks, it means that it's a text, it's a string, so it will be recognized as a text. So if you don't put anything between some quotation marks, then it will be kind of code. For example, at this instance, we have a code multiplying 5 by 2. So it's running 5 by 2, and it's printing out the result over here in the logcat. And if it doesn't work out for you anyhow, just create a new project, okay, from here or from the menu as well, but this time go for empty activity rather than no activity. So if it doesn't work for you, I'm gonna call this Java Learn in order to avoid any confusion, and I'm going to open this with activity rather than non-activity, and we can do the same thing over here as well, right? All we have to do is just write everything under onCreate rather than our main function. So why don't we do that? Because when we do that, we have to use emulator, right? In order to just take the emulator out of the picture, you can work with no activity at all. It would be faster. But if it doesn't work out, no matter what you do, then it means that you're gonna have to open this with a main activity so that you can write everything under onCreate like this, okay? And you can run it with an emulator and do the same thing again. So let me write exactly the same thing like hello Java and 5 multiplied by 2 and run it on an emulator. So when we run it, we're gonna see an empty screen or something called hello world, like a text view, a default text view. But at the same time, we can actually follow along with inside of the logcat as well. It would be a little bit slower since we're going to deal with emulators, but it's also manageable. So if you cannot make it work without an activity, then you can just have it with activity like this. There will be some kind of disadvantages as well. For example, I'm going to create some additional Java classes in the left-hand pane, and when I do that, maybe you will have to create new projects rather than new Java files, but it would be fine eventually. You can do whatever I'm trying to do inside of Java files from here, and if you open the logcat section on your bottom side of your Android Studio, you can see all the logs, and if you write something like system.out in the search bar, it's actually a filtering mechanism so that you can filter only the system out print lines so that you can see what's going on over here. For example, let me do some other example like hello and run emulator from scratch. It will compile and it will run and it will show me the logcat eventually, and as you can see, it's not very slow, but it's not as convenient as Java file. Okay, so you know right now you know a lot of ways to run Java code. So we're gonna continue with this file in the next lecture.